If a woman has ever said to you, you shut down when things get hard, and you thought you were doing the right thing, you're not alone. But what feels like calm to you often feels like abandonment to her. Here's what usually happens in that moment. She's trying to explain why something hurt her. And inside your head, something shifts. Your mind starts racing. Suddenly, it doesn't feel like a conversation anymore. It feels like you're on trial. And in your head, you're thinking, if I say the wrong thing right now, this is going to explode. So the safest move seems to be saying nothing. You go quiet. Not because you don't care, but because you're trying to stop things from escalating, from getting worse. While you're going silent to keep the situation calm, she's experiencing something completely different. To her, your silence doesn't feel calm. It feels like distance. Like the person she's trying to reach just disappeared from the room. I recognize this pattern because I've lived it. There were moments in arguments where the first thought that hit me was, great, I've upset her again. And instantly something inside me would tighten. Defensiveness would show up, not because I wanted to hurt her, but because suddenly it felt like I was being misunderstood. Like the situation was slipping out of control. My mind would start searching for the safest move. Say less. Stay quiet. Don't make things worse. Maybe the situation will calm down. Maybe it will pass. At the time that felt responsible, it felt like damage control. But eventually, I had to face something uncomfortable. What I thought was calmness was actually stonewalling. And stonewalling is one of the fastest ways to destroy connection in a relationship. Because while you're trying to prevent things from getting worse, the other person is sitting there feeling completely alone with it. And the hardest thing for me to realize was this. She didn't need me to fix the situation. She didn't need the perfect explanation. She needed something much simpler. To know she wasn't alone in the pain she was expressing. To feel I could acknowledge it instead of disappearing from the moment. So after recognizing this, I thought the solution was simple. Just stay in the conversation. Listen. Don't shut down. And that's exactly what I tried to do. But even then, I noticed something uncomfortable. Just because I was listening, it didn't mean I was actually present. Because there was a point in the conversation where something inside me would shift. Up until that moment, I was listening. But the second her words challenged my intentions, or the kind of man I believed I was, something changed. I stopped listening to understand and started listening to defend. And this is where the ego quietly steps in, not to destroy the relationship, but to protect your image. Because if you fully take in what the other person is saying, you might have to face something uncomfortable. That maybe you did hurt someone you care about. Even if you didn't mean to. And the ego hates that possibility. So it protects. Sometimes by arguing. Sometimes by shutting down. And sometimes by doing something even more subtle. listening. But only up until the point where your self-image feels threatened. The real shift for me didn't come from learning how to listen better. It came from recognizing what my ego was trying to do. Because the very thing that was trying to protect me was actually doing the opposite of what I wanted in my relationships. Instead of creating safety, I was creating distance. What helped me most was something very simple. Pausing before responding. Not to calculate a better argument, but to remind myself of something important. That I care more about the connection than I do about protecting my image. Now, that sounds simple, but it's not always easy. Because when your ego feels threatened, it wants to act fast. It wants to restore control. It wants to prove you're not the problem. But connection doesn't come from winning that moment. It comes from staying present in it. And sometimes presence is incredibly simple. It can be something as small as saying, I can see this really hurts you. Or, I might not fully understand yet, but I'm listening. Those moments do something powerful. They keep the bridge open. Because when someone you love is hurting, they're not asking you to be perfect. They're asking you to stay with them. And silence often feels like the safest move in the moment. But real connection requires something harder. The willingness to remain present, even when your ego wants to protect itself. Because sometimes the most painful moment in a relationship isn't the argument. It's when someone reaches for you emotionally and finds nothing there.